This is recap part 3 for Monday, September 27th. And this is specifically if you are on F5, IXL F5 from last week, and maybe you emailed and said your score was stuck at 60 or 70 or 80, or maybe you're just kind of stuck on this one and you can't get your score past a certain level. This may help. So I have my score right here at 41. I'm going to show you on the screen what I'm doing to get these answers. So the least common denominator of 12 and 8, it might be kind of hard or long if we do multiples on some of these. So instead we're going to use this method. We're going to find the prime factorization. That's 2 times 2 times 2. And 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. We're going to circle everything that's in common and then use everything that's left over in our multiplication. So we're going to do 2 times 2 times this 2 times this 3. So that's 8 times 3, and that's 24. So 24 is our least common multiple. Okay, 7 and 8, we're using the same method. So if I have the factors of 7 are just 7, 1 times 7. We're not going to use 1, it's in everything. So this is 2 times 2 times 2. Notice there's nothing in common, so we multiply everything together. So that's just going to be 7 times 8, 56. So let's try this again. So with least common denominator of 10 and 6, so we're going to take 10, that's 2 times 5. It's helpful if you do them in order. 6 is 2 times 3. So we have these in common. These are not in common, so we take one copy of that, 2 times 3 times 5. So it looks like 30 is the smallest number that they both go into. All right, even though we can see, many of us can see that the answer is going to be 8, let's see how this works. 4 is 2 times 2. It's always good when you have a new method to do it on the simpler ones to see that it works. So we're going to match those, use those once, use that once, use the leftover, and that's 8. That's where we have 8, how we can get 8 through that method. All right, 6 and 9, so we're getting up, we got a score of 63 now. 6 is 2 times 3, 9 is 3 times 3. Those are matched, we'll use it once, so 2 times 3 times one of those 3's, so that's 18. Let's just put in the answer on this one to get to a little bit more difficult one. If it's a smaller number like 2 and it goes into the larger number like 8, then 8 is the common denominator. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of work to do on this one. Although they all go into 12, so we know the answer is going to be 12, we're still going to show how this method will work. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. 6 is 2 times 3. 3 is just 3. So notice how these are all in common. So I have to circle them all and I get to use it once. These are in common. So they're in both those lists, so I'm going to use that just once. This is left over, so I'm going to multiply that. So 2 times 2 times 3, and we get 12. Okay, so let's use this method with 4 and 12 and 7. So 4 is 2 times 2. 12 is 2 times 2 times 3, and 7 is just 7. So those are in common, those are in common. We're going to use them each once. And then we're going to use the 3 and the 7. So this ends up being 4 times 21. So that's 84. 84 is the smallest number that all three of those go into. Okay, let's just put in the 6 because we know that 3 goes into 6, 6 goes into 6, so that's just going to be 6. Let's get to a more difficult one. Okay, 5 and 2 and 10 all go into 10. 5 times 2 is 10, 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 1 is 10. So let's get to a more difficult one. Okay, so we're going to change these two equivalent fractions. So we're going to change halves to fourths. So the common denominator is going to be fourths. So this one will just be 1/4. This one will be 2/4. We kind of have those memorized. Let's get to a more difficult one. This one's going to be 5/6. This one's going to be 6. And so 3 is half of 6. So we can do 3/6. There's a reasoning there. All right. Now, this one we're going to write down. This is where a lot of you probably got stuck and you almost got to 90 and it gets more difficult. So, we're going to do our common denominator over here. The prime factorization of 5 is 5. Prime factorization of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. Notice how they don't have anything in common, so we're going to multiply them all together. 5 times 2 times 2 times 2. It's 5 times 8. That's 40. So, 4/5 is 32/40. So we can type that in. 4/5, multiply everything times 8, we get 32/40. 7/8 times 5, we multiply that times 5 is 35/40. See how we did here? 35/40. Okay, let's actually write this one out. Even though it's 2 and 3, sometimes this can be a little difficult because we have to take 2/3 times 2 is 6, so 2 times 2 is 4, and 1/2 times 3 is 6. Times 3. Sometimes the smaller ones we kind of have memorized and we go a little too quick. So I just wanted to write that one down. So this is 4/6. This one is 3/6. Good to have those memorized. Okay, now we're going into the even more difficult problems. Let's see. Let's just write this one and get even more difficult because this is just going to be 1/12 and this is going to be 3/12. If you're at this point, you probably can do those in your head. Let's get to the ones that we can't do it in our head. And this is 4/10. All right, this is 5/8, and this is 2/8. There we go. This will be our last one. So I'm going to find the common denominator between 16 and 12. So that is 2 times 2 times 2. Oh, we'll do one more after this. Times 2. And this is 2 times 2 times 3. So we've got to match those up, use them each once, use that once, and then times 2 times 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 2's, multiply together times 3. So that's 16 times 3 is 48. So 7/16 is 21/48. And 5/12 is 20/48. And these all go into 12, so let's just put this one and see if we can get one more difficult one. That's just going to be 1/12. That's going to be 3/12. That's going to be 10/12. We got to 100, and that was it. I was hoping to get an even more difficult question, so I'm just going to put one up here. If you're still with me, let's try to add, let's say 3 eighths plus 6/14 plus 1/20. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. 14 is 2 times 7. 20 is 2 times 2 times 5. So we've got these 2's in common, so we'll use those. We've got these 2 in common, so we'll use those once. And then times 2 times 7 times 5, so all the rest of them. So that's 8 times 7 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 7 times 40 is 280. So we would do 3 eighths times something is 280 times something. Let's see, so that's times 35. 3 times 35 is 105, so 105 eighths. So that was times, what was it again? 35. 35. That makes sense, 105. And then we're going to take 6/14, okay, times 2 and 7. So we're going to multiply that times 20. Times 20 equals 280. See how I'm figuring out that 20? It's 120. And then finally 1/20 times something is 280. 20 is 2 times 2 times 5, so I know it's going to be times 14. So times 14, 1 times 14 is 14 2/80ths. So we do 105 plus 120 plus 14 is 239. So this is equal to 239 280ths. And that is a recap, part 3 for IXL for Monday, September 27th.